Hello and welcome back to the space in between, a place where we get to have conversations about some of the things that affect our daily lives. Today we want to talk a little bit about relationships.
Yeah, so for those of you that watched our last video, which was about parenting, and you're saying, oh, that's not relevant, I don't have kids, I'm not in a marriage yet, I'm just kind of dating or whatever, we wanted to speak to you a little bit today and hopefully share some words of wisdom.
Yeah, a few weeks ago we were talking with some youth and we realized that this is a serious thing, and even, looking back at our lives, are there some things you feel like if you are dating now, what are the 3 key things you would say that this is the areas that I really want to focus on?
Yeah, definitely. And I think I'm so grateful that I really do believe we did talk about these things when we were dating. I'm not sure, I don't think it had anything to do with us really being intentional or knowing at the time, but maybe just God was helping us, He was on our side. But looking back now, I feel like I'm so glad we talked about those things before we got into marriage. The first one for me, and probably the most important, is your belief system, your faith, your values, because this is sort of the foundation of who you are.
It affects everything, how you do things, what you do, how you look at life, how you make decisions,
So, if you're not on the same page with your belief system, that can just really start you off on the wrong foot. So you need to say, if you're dating someone and you're potentially looking forward to marriage, if you can't be on the same basic page, I'm not saying you have to agree on every little thing or theology or anything like that, but if you can't have the basic same value system, I think that's going to make your foundation a little bit weak.
Yeah. So when you're talking about faith and values, what exactly are you referring to?
Tell you about what you believe in and what drives you. So for us, we're both Christians, we're both very committed Christians. We believe in outreach and service and community development. We believe in family and the importance of that. And so those values and those things we believe in drive our everyday actions. So it's really helped us that we're on the same page there, because that means we're headed in the same direction.
So if people are dating and they're thinking of marriage and they have a diverse view of faith and have totally different values, that can become an issue in a relationship.
I think so because sort of everything you do and who you are flows out of that. And so you could just find yourselves kind of going apart instead of heading in the same direction. So it's something you want to make sure, certain key foundational values, you're on the same page. And it's something to talk about before you get into marriage. Another thing that I think is really important and kind of springs from that is, before you get married, talking about your goals and your ambitions. Do you have any thoughts about how that might be important to talk about before you get married?
Oh yeah, because sometimes you think that the other person will automatically join into your ambitions, but unless one person is so passive, and they are willing to do what the other person does. But you realize that these are 2 different people, 2 people who think differently, look at things differently. And if you have ambitions that don't bring you together, they will keep you going to separate directions. And of course, that will not be good for a relationship.
Yeah, and I think it's also to see how those goals and ambitions fit with other things you want, and how that will affect. So, you can have a career, you can have different careers, that's fine, but what are your goals within those, and what comes first? Is it family? Is it your job? If you get a job outside the country or in a different city, are you going no matter what, or that would be a discussion point? Those are things that you want to have those hypothetical conversations
ahead of time. And I think I'm sure there are a lot of people who found themselves in the situations, and because they never talked about it, it comes like a shock. You never knew that this other person was looking to further their studies out of the country, or they were open to working anywhere in the world, and they were not. You never talked about, in our work situations, should we try to work in the same city so that we are at home every day, or it's okay. If it's one of your values that everybody lives their own life, that's okay.
Right, you just need to be on the same page. And you need to discuss these things before, because like you said, you might get into marriage and then these things catch you by surprise, and it can be really stressful, and it can really harm your relationship, unfortunately.
Yeah. So it's really important to make sure that you know what the other person's ambitions are, what they wish to do, and how that matches with what you want to do. Then you can find some compromise. It does not mean that you are going to be able to think the same.
No, I mean, either way, when you're getting married, it's two independent lives coming together, which will take compromise no matter what. But talking about these things beforehand can help each of you find a way to support the other one in a way where it works and it's the best for both of you and for your future family. Speaking of family, I think that's probably the third most important thing to talk about, at least in my opinion, before you get married. Family values, kids, do you want them? How many do you want? What are your traditions? What do you believe is important for your family? All of those things before they actually come, because I'm telling you, once kids come,
life never
it changes the whole ballgame.
So I think, but also it depends on your cultural background. And I think the whole idea of how many kids do we want and stuff like that, there are quite a big group of people that don't talk about it.
Oh, a lot. And I know even people from Canada who are the same, who don't have these discussions beforehand. But I also have walked with people who get into problems later in their marriage because they haven't discussed these things. And it becomes a place of tension because you had no idea that the other person was just on a completely different page than you. So just trying to avoid those things. The more you can talk about beforehand, I think the better you are going into marriage. And the stronger your relationship will be.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Those are just a few thoughts from us. We could talk a long time about relationships, but we'll do other segments. So hopefully, if you are single or you're dating or you're in that stage of life where you're trying to find the person you want to settle down with, hopefully this has been helpful for you and you can take some pieces and apply it to your life.
And we'd love to have more discussions. If you have a question or a comment or a correction, because we are not experts in this, please drop us a message and see you next time.